I think sometimes when you ask people advice, people say things that sound good, but they didn't necessarily apply themselves. And I think one of the biggest cliches that people use nowadays is you learn most from your failures than anything else. And I want you to talk about how necessarily learning from your failure isn't maybe the best way to go about it, especially initially.
Well, it's definitely the case that, especially when we're starting on anything new, failure is inevitable. And so it's good to have a good attitude toward failure. Like if you have stumbles, you want to pick yourself up again. If you experience something negative, you want to keep pushing through it. Those are all good qualities. So I don't deny that. But there is sometimes a kind of an exaggeration of this effect that, well, the key to becoming really good is to just sort of load up the challenge, like make it as hard as possible in the beginning. And that's how like true champions are born. So you can think of this in the context of like a fitness routine is just like, well, it's all about like just completely shredding yourself on that very first workout. Or you can think about this in the context of, learning a new skill, just like making it as hard as possible. And this is not what the research shows on motivation. So one of the key concepts that is behind motivation is this idea of self-efficacy, which is that our motivation to do things is related not only to how much we value the outcome that we want, whether that's, being in really good shape or learning Spanish or what have you, but also our belief in our ability to do the things that are necessary to achieve the goal. And the issue is that for a lot of new skills, a lot of new domains, especially if we've had difficulties in the past, our self-efficacy is fairly low. We have never had any experience doing this before. So we don't have any real strong reason to believe that we'd be successful with it. And so if you experience early failures, many consecutive early failures in those attempts, the very natural result is just to give up, just to be like, you know what, it's not working for me. I'm not going to be able to do it. So when we are starting out in a new domain, it's very important to build the motivation slowly, build up those small wins, build up the things that will build that self-efficacy. Now, once your self-efficacy is high and you are like in your comfort zone, then you need to challenge yourself. Then you need to have that adversity to really persist because if you have high self-efficacy and you persist through a really hard challenge and then you're successful in the end, that's an even better signal to yourself than if you only succeed when things are easy. But if you only fail when things are hard or easy, then that's probably a hard place to get started with motivation.
Yeah, no, I loved this part of the book where it's like you need to build up your self efficacy first. You have to build small wins. And once you have that foundation of like past successes, then you can learn to persist through some failures and through some setbacks and through some challenges more adeptly than if you just fail right away and fall on your face right away. And kind of along the same lines, a lot of people with a health and fitness journey is maybe the first time they attempt to lose weight, they're not successful. Then they try 2, 3, 4 more times, they're not successful. And then they feel like I can never be successful. And that's kind of like what we're talking about, right? It's like you have to stack up small wins. I think one of the things though that can hold people back from the small wins thing is they sometimes don't value the small wins as much as they should because they think like only losing half a pound, that's not enough for me. Like I don't value that small win. How would you talk to somebody about how to value the small wins? Be like, no, this actually is meaningful way to get going.
Yeah, so I think my approach to dealing with this problem is just that you always want to break down your big goals into smaller things. So, maybe your big long-term goal is, yeah, you want to lose 50 pounds, right? That's like the big dream. Like that would put you in a healthy weight range, or that's, what you would like to look like. But that's a big goal, and it's certainly going to take a long time to achieve. And again, as you said, if you have this self-efficacy problem, then you experience a little bit of setback, you hit a plateau, you're not losing any weight anymore. You're just like, it's sticking to this diet is way too hard. I'm going to just give up and go back to the way things work because at least that was easy. This is a sort of thought process that we all engage in. And so I think the problem is that the goal is too big. You're tackling something that when you think about it, you're like, I don't know whether I can actually achieve that. I don't know whether I can stick to that in the long haul. Whereas if you were focusing on something like, can I exercise every day this week? That's a much smaller goal, right? Or, okay, I'm going to like stick within my whatever diet parameters for 1 week and just see how it goes. Like these little goals, that's a win right there.